throw everything out into the closet and just pull everything out? That's what I did. I took everything and threw it into the middle of the floor. And the paper stood this high. So from Thursday until just about an hour ago, I was still cleaning. So I kept cleaning, and the more I cleaned, the more you called. The more I cleaned, the more people came. Hint. Start cleaning all of the junk out of your house, and you watch all the blessings start coming your way. The first thing we like to do is to let you know that this is, I guess, the third gathering of the Masters for just this year. You notice the gatherings of the Masters are not coming as frequently as they are. And remember, we told you that we're not going to be doing all these other gatherings of the Masters anymore, because we have been giving you this information for the last 5 years. And how many people have been with us for that long? About that long? How many people have seen things begin to come true the way they're supposed to? The time when we told you 4 or 5 years ago the government was going to shut down the whole 9 yards. Well, we're here to show you that legacy is prophecy. Let's say that again. Legacy is prophecy. So if you don't know your legacy, you cannot prophesize what is to be. All things work in cycles. And we are now coming to a point in our consciousness continuum where we are now in a cycle of regeneration. We are at a threshold where things are beginning to break, to burst. The child is about to appear. The wound has broken its water. Hello? And a consciousness time continuum is about to burst onto the scene. The threshold of consciousness for our time zone has reached a point where we can no longer stay within this threshold. There's certain people are going to break through. Some people are going to stay here and become the fertilizer and the fodder for the next consciousness time zone that will be taking up our place. But it's time for us to move. We're being evicted from this consciousness time zone. We can't stay here anymore. Everybody who tries to recap and rehash, take the same old dirt and turn it over and try to find some whole new consciousness from it, you can't stay here anymore. Now, I believe that we have to work with what we have to get where we want. But we cannot stay here. And I don't mean here. I mean here. And today, with the gathering of the Masters, I gathered together some of the heaviest that we have. And I brought the whole broad spectrum here. Okay, from black to white, and the spectrums in between. I tried to get some native brothers, but I couldn't get in contact with them because they were already doing something. But the spectrum of consciousness is now showing itself like a rainbow. And I was called to do this next one, and I called it the Return of the Millennium Starship. The Millennium Starship would be Nibiru. And the planet Nibiru is about to show itself most likely around 2012, between 2010 and 2025. But you got the herald of the Nibiru on the planetoid or comet that you call Kohoutek. That was the harbinger. So times are coming. Everybody who got the flyer in the mail saw that it looks like things are going to hell in a handbasket. Looks like planets are blowing up, but there's a ship inside there looking like it's coming for us. Now the ship that I'm talking about, the mothership, is not only the mothership that is some form of alien, some form of outworld creatures, but the mothership is a resensitizing. The feminine principle is the sensitizing principle. So when I say that the return of the mothership, I'm talking about a sensitizing of the humanity, because we've become so patriarchal and so chauvinistic in our attitudes towards Mother Earth that we've lost our contact and lost our sensitivities. We've become so technological that we forgot about the first technology, which is us. Hold on, we're getting signals coming in. You're trying to reach us. But what I meant by mothership is that we have to raise that sensitizing agency within us. And we have to interface with that grandmother, the great-grandmother, because she's constantly talking to us, constantly chiding us, constantly scolding us, but we're not listening.
Technology has gone crazy because technology has now been invented for technology's sake, not because we need to anymore. And when technology gets out of hand, Mother Nature got to bring it back into balance. So unless we start resurrecting the original technology, which is the brain that created all of these extraneous technologies that's out here, and start practicing and exercising the gray matter that's between the black and the white, it became the gray matter. See, that's what's happening with consciousness. It's that out of the darkness came the light. But what about that little avenue in between the darkness and the light? Well, the darkness and the light, or the black and the white, makes what together? Gray. So you got that gray matter to interface with both spectrums. So you're dealing with the gray matter, you're dealing with plugging into the light, but never leave your attachment to the darkness, because that's where you came from. The darkness are just thresholds that you just haven't reached yet. You haven't put on the right lens on your eyes, or you haven't raised the consciousness time continuum frequency within yourself as yet. So on the bill we have myself starting at the beginning, and I'll be talking about the Lucifer paradox between now and as the night comes. I'll just want to touch on the pieces here and there. Somebody called up on the phone and said, the Lucifer paradox. He gonna talk about Lucifer? My daughter said, yeah, don't worry about it. Just come in and check it out. You know, we're not going to kill anything or anybody. We're not going to be grabbing hearts out and showing it to you. No sacrifices. It's not that. What we're going to show you is that all of the different types of semantics that came in with the different religions, Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, Shintoism, all the isms that separate us as people, we're going to speak to the fact that all of it came from out of one central source, which was called at the time the mystery system. But all of it came from timelessness. What you got as Kemetic or Egyptian knowledge was not the beginning of all things. That's a lot of nonsense. So I wish the brothers who are in Chem would stop becoming so cloistered and confined within that particular spectrum of consciousness. Because Kemet was just essentially a village of consciousness. It was a point, a nodal point, a synapsis only. It was not the beginning. It was not the cradle. It was just a point in transition. After our world went through that great atomic warfare, it was essentially the refugee camp for consciousness at that time, until it could reorganize itself. All right? So, please, when I start talking about Lucifer, don't everybody start jump up and throwing their crosses in the air and start grabbing hallelujah and tell you, be gone Satan. We have Brother Posey Gilbert, who said he needed a VCR. My VCR is out. He couldn't get one. So he had a presentation to make that he wished he could make based on that VCR. But if we can get a VCR anytime during this symposium, we're going to try to do that for him. We got Dr. Bruce Cornett, who's going to give you a film presentation on what he says are the origin of the moon and its ultimate purpose, as well as the crystal cities and domes that they have on the moon, with pictorial graphs and pictorial evidence. We also have Bob Urey with the UFO phenomenon and the African-American need for concern. He's coming from Philadelphia, so I'm praying that his journey is a swift and an easy one. And of course, we have the man of the hour today that we actually had brought him up, and we are also blessed with having someone else in the house who was here before and gave us some very powerful information. To this date right now, I reference him, and in my book I'm actually referencing him as well. But before we move forward with that, we have Dr. Al Bilik in the house, and he will be talking about the Philadelphia experiment and it being a branch point in time to the history continuum that we are now occupying. So I believe that this whole day will give us to say the least, we're going to give us something to think about. I am, first of all, like to touch upon some of the things that are happening that what we call newsworthy. And every now and then, sometimes when we read a newspaper, we throw it away, and we believe that with the new day, there's no continuation unless it's on the front page. We don't know that there are certain events that once you take all of them for the week and put them together, you can get a model of what's happening. So there are little things happening around that will let you know. Now, first of all, my partner in resurrection and in knowledge, and this one I want to introduce you to also, this brother Edward Bay. This brother is actually become like the special forces for people who have been put into foreclosure. And if you're in foreclosure, if you know anyone who's in foreclosure, or know anyone who the banksters are harassing, then this brother has had, I mean, the sheriff was in the house with the truck getting ready to take the stuff out. Brother came in like SWAT. Boom! Here, you leave. And it's been like that 4 or 5 times. He's been helping people to keep their homes. Because we got the bullet, the magic bullet, the silver bullet to keep the bank off of you. And that's Regulation Z, the truth in lending. And this brother is becoming a master of it. So if you have any problems, or you know of anyone who has any problems dealing with Regulation Z or in their homes and things like that, then you go see Edward Bay. Also, I want to, sometime during the day, I would like to introduce you to George Silos here. He's a friend of mine that I don't know how we met, but we just kind of fused together and energized together. And he wrote a book about men, from experience, for men and about men. And he breaks down the paradigm of the relationships between men and women, and the relationships between mothers and sons, that only sons and men can identify with. And I believe that this book, as I'm going to be also using his book as part references, because I have at least 1,000 books I'm using as reference. And I want to introduce his book to you sometime during the day as well. And we have the brothers and sisters from the Holy Tabernacle with Dr. York, who is in Atlanta, and he graciously sent me one of his books, I guess because he had heard some of the tapes that we were doing about the Nibiru, about Anunnaki, about the return. And I just want to say welcome to them and to everyone in the house, and hopefully there will be other people that will be coming through as well. And I just want to extend greetings to everyone who are here, and just because I don't name you out, I will sometime during the course of the day. And shout outs and kudos, first of all, I want you to know, shout outs and kudos to a beautiful sister who's sitting amongst you as well. And I was writing one book, and the book was over 1,000 pages after I began it. It was over 1,000 pages, people. So I said, well, you know, ain't none of us folks gonna sit down and read 1,000 pages worth of book. So what I did is I broke up one of the chapters into 7 different chapters. And one of them is this book here that I'm writing about black and white, and it's called The Illusion of Race and the Chemistry of Human Color. And in it, I break down the fallacy about the paradigm of racism that we're working under, and how it is that we believe one to be evil and one to be not. But the fact is that the original color of humanity was a deep, raw moss green, a greenish hue, because we were called at one time Saptapana, the man plant in Hindu, and in the Mahabharata and in the Vedas, which chronicles their particular work some 200,000 years ago, spoke about humanity as the man plant, spoke about Isis and Ast and Rama and all of them being the green and having a green hue. And what better way to synthesize solar energy than through chlorophyll medium? So I would believe that we have lost most of our true chlorophyll binding based on the fact that the magnesium molecule has somehow been flushed from our system. When they talked about in Solomon's temple, when the stone that was rejected by the builders, that was the magnesium molecule that was flushed from our system, because due to the solar radiation, the fact that the planet was all of evils, we couldn't have the same type of physiology and survive. So we were recalibrated. And I don't want to go into that right now, it's in the book. But I want to give kudos, all love and respect, to a sister here who has been working very hard with me, very patient. We broke my book down into 7 books called the Regenesis Chronicles. And she has been working hard, and I want to give her kudos, and that's Gail Newby in the back there. Let's just hear it for Gail Newby, because she is the selfless in that. Also, for those who wish to deal with, these are my announcements before we get busy. But for those of you who want to deal with any kind of consultations, we have a Native American shaman sister here named Puma Cat Dancing, who will be doing the readings down in the basement, who will be doing consultations in the basement, on and on. Okay? And I've gotten all the announcements out the way. Oh, the last announcement is, please, I'll pass this around. We have a summer fast special for those of you who feel that you got too much filth and waste in your system, who feel that your head is all clogged up and you can't think straight. Well, we deal with a summer fast, but it's not a summer fast. We call it this juice feasting, because you can't juice and fast at the same time. That's a little nomenclature, a little kind of an oxymoron that another center is doing. So it's a juice fasting. There's no juice fasting. You're either fasting or you're juicing. So we call it juice feasting. We put the E back in the fast. All right? So we are juice feasting. Or if you wish, if your system is really clogged, you have cancer, fibroid tumor, cysts, and so forth, we will put you on a fasting regimen as well. Okay, so we'll pass all that out to you. Okay, first thing, notice given to me. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to see this notice. Given to me by Edward Bay, handed out in the Queens County Court. Quote, all defendants who wish to plead guilty to felony charges post-indictment will be required to plead guilty to the top court of the indictment pending against them. The Queens County District Attorney's Office will no longer engage in post-indictment plea bargaining. Defendants wishing to engage in pre-indictment dispositional conferencing will be required at the time of their arraignment in criminal court to waive any and all constitutional rights to a speedy trial, as well as all statutory rights under Section 3030, 18080, 19080 of the Criminal Procedure for a period of 30 days. The foregoing policy shall take effect immediately. Ladies and gentlemen, anybody notice that we've been getting pulled over quite regularly? You want to know why? Well, we've been telling you about the bankruptcy of the United States for a long time. The fact that we've been bankrupt since 1933-38. Well, the bankruptcy now is gotten to the point where the whole of the United States, which is not the United States of America, but United States, the corporation called the United States, which is the standing Congress, they are so broke that they now have to reservice the debt to the international bankers. How do they do that? Well, the international banker says you're in bankruptcy and we are foreclosing on the United States. So as they said, now what you have to do, if you're going to call bankruptcy, you have to reorganize. So they give you 7 years in all bankruptcies. 7 to 10 years. 10 years for you and still, I guess, for the people. But 7 years for the organization or the reorganization of your debt. So why do you think they have to balance the debt within 7 years? Why are they trying to balance the budget within 7 years? Because they're reorganizing the debt. Now, the $100 bill was the first clue to the fact that we're getting ready for the crash. Because they are floating that phony monopoly money on a perceived amount or a perceived debt limit. Now, here's how they're doing it. They're snatching all the land back. You'll notice that there's this huge rash of foreclosures going on around the country. No one is spared. The banks are coming after everyone now. They've been told to go get the property. But you never really owned the property to begin with. Since you've been paying taxes, it means that you never owe your property. The taxes are you paying actually to stay here as rent. Now what they're doing is they are taking all the banks are coming and snatching the land, and they're putting your house on the market. They're putting a mortgage on the house that they snatched for maybe $10,000, $15,000. They bought the house back. They're putting a mortgage on it of $150,000 to $200,000, and they're floating the $200,000 inflated amount for the mortgage as the worth of the property. your $100 is floating on right now. A perceived number. It's about to crash. Yeah. Let me have the box. Go right ahead. We'll be asking for your donations now. You notice you didn't come in. We don't do that. We wait till you sit and comfortable. You know, we don't dig in and it's raining and stuff. We all relax. So they're actually pulling you over now, and as Edward and another sister we know, she had been, there was this, she was pulled over for her driver's license, quote unquote. She didn't have her driver's license. Yeah, with now, right. Now the police are coming and rolling in tinted windows with RVs as well. And they're moving on you now like hoodies. Because they're dressed like, you know, the hoodies and everything, they're leaning, but they're pulling you over when you see the light come on there. The police are now under military jurisdiction. You no longer have any rights. None. Dr. Bilik has the proof that they're about to suspend the Constitution. He will come on and tell you and show you the proof. Let me show you how they already did. The very fact that they can pull you over, come up to your car, take you out and search you and your car on probable cause the way they do now. And if you don't have your license, take you into jail, arrest you. They do not, for 72 hours they can keep you. You do not get issued a bench warrant anymore. In other words, they don't give you the ticket for a period in court so that you pay. They will take you down and put you through the system. You want to know why? Because the dollars that you are going to pay out are not dollars, ladies and gentlemen. They are ferns. And these ferns are no longer worth anything. The dollars or the $10 that you got that you're going to come out ain't worth nothing right now. It's a perceived worth. You go up to the judge and give them their $45 or $50 for it. It is not enough to help to service the debt anymore. So what happens now is the ownership of your body is now what they are leveraging as part of the payment of the debt. So you going through the system, being in jail for 2 or 3 days, is the way that you now show your worth in this reorganization of the debt. You can't pay the dollars that are worth for the penalties anymore for these statutes. You now must go through the jail so that the state may get the federal kickback while your body is in there. Because the amount of people that they put into the jail and keep for the 72 hours brings them in something like $575 to $10,000 per person. So your body is no longer worth, the money in your pocket is no longer worth the penalties for having the privilege of the Social Security anymore. Your body is now the leverage in the payment. So you now, all of you with the Social Security numbers, it is the numbers that have you now susceptible to becoming part of the cattle that they're going to use to leverage the debt. Now I know all of my Moors and my brother Moors out there who speak about the fact that we as Moors started the debt system, started the whole system to recapture the land. Well, I don't trust anybody who's been in power for 300 years, 400 years, and has become drunk with that power and is not giving anything back. Now they're getting ready to put chips in your hands, getting ready to retinal scan you, putting the chips in your babies. This is not somebody that's going to relinquish the power like they said they were going to do 440 years ago. It's not going to work like that. We have people from the Patriots calling up asking how they may become Moors. The Freemen called me because the Freemen were here. How many people were here when the Freemen were here? It was like, what did it look like in here? Like the United Nations. We had black, white, Indian, Hindu. We had everybody in here. And I know these folks up here didn't know what the hell was going on. They saw everybody. We saw that the Freemen came in with cowboy hats. They were all in tassels, red, white, and blue with boots. They came walking in, bow-legged and everything. Then we had the Moors standing there with their peasants, and what do you call it? Then we had the natives with their feathers coming in. It was a regular convention. Now they're calling up because the patriots want to know more about the Treaty of Friendship and Peace between the United States government and the King of Morocco in 1879. 1870, was it 1789? 87. The Treaty of Friendship and Peace between the fledgling United States of America and of Morocco. You see, the history that we've been given for the longest period of time is not the true history. There was a whole civilization going on here long before the Pilgrims landed. And that they now know, the patriots are now calling me and telling me now that they know about the Six-Nation Confederacy of the Iroquois that had been started here on this land, that Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, and all the rest of the Continental Congress had been part of. They used to be students of this Six-Nation Confederacy. And Benjamin Franklin took a lot of the principles of the Six-Nation Confederacy and added that as his Declaration of Independence. All of this is surfacing. There is hard data copy on this fact in, what is that name, that place there in Washington where you keep all your records? Help me. Library of Congress, and archives. Exactly. It's all there, and it's coming out now. So now the Wasatch Nation has come down and began speaking about the lands that they had and had paperwork. You see, the United States of America originally only had 13 colonies, and we have now got paperwork that shows the boundaries of those 13 colonies. The original state boundaries of those 13 colonies. How the hell did they end up with the whole continent? Through war, subterfuge, genocide. And this is what we are going to the World Court about. And this is what's now surfacing. The people, the indigenous people who had the land before, who had all of the different governments going on before, are now coming to the surface. They're now coming out. So now there's got to be truth. Truth can't be black, truth can't be white, truth can't be yellow, can't be red or green. Information has to come out and it has to bear itself out. George Washington was not George Washington. His name was John Washington or Waschugi. That was his name. He took that name. He was the nephew of Queen Elizabeth, or who was the queen at that time. He was related to the queen. Grand Mason. Okay? All right, just moving right along. Yeah.
I want to get justice in that real quick. There's only one people, it's the secret government rules this planet.
Okay, the secret government, I've been told by some people that have been working with the IMF, in the IMF, I've heard some information about this man who had come out. I don't know if Preston might be able to help me out. But the book was written about this, from this man who was in there with the Trilateralists, with the Bilderbergers, top echelon man. And he wrote about the fact that the planet is being reorganized because they're under mandates from certain people from definitely outside of our cosmic jurisdiction. And that, speak forward, I can't hear you. Yeah, I don't know if he was from the Committee of 300. He was also from the Council of 13 as well. He was all the way up there. And I'm trying to remember what the book was, but yeah, Al would probably know. Good, I'm going to leave it for him then. But this man said that there is a huge reorganization of the planet going on right now, unbeknownst to us, that no matter what it is, that it's going for the better. Okay? Well, I can't believe all of it, so I've got to keep skeptical. But the word is that these people control all the monies of the industrial states, industrialized states, and they come from different factions of the world. They're black, white, oriental, everything. And these different factions of the world have come together as, I think, a 9-man rulership. And these people are now orchestrating the world to become one whole world, but for the better. Because supposedly we're going to get this mass visitation from people who say that we're supposedly ready for that visitation. Now, we're going to get talking with Al and Preston and everybody about all of that. But it's supposed it's coming. The people who are actually looking out for us or looking to the betterment of our world are there, just as those who are here who are looking to destroy it. to keep us in this threshold of idiocy. Okay? A political prison?
I don't know.
Yeah, we're going to let you talk about that. That one of Preston's friends were arrested because he had all the information on the landings that were going out there in Montauk Point.